We're gonna fix that. Hey, what's up? Welcome to AgamidCG. I'm Skylar, and I have made a few bunny-related videos now, but I think this is gonna be the biggest one yet. We're gonna come up with a solution for the dreaded hay mess that bunnies can make. Bunnies are actually quite clean creatures hygienically, but of course they're not perfect and they definitely can make a mess. My bunny Nano is usually pretty good. He doesn't really leave a lot of stray poops around the house, and he's litter trained, so he poops and pees in one spot, leaving it relatively easy to clean, except for one thing, the hay. A couple of fun facts about bunnies is they poop where they eat, which is disgusting for humans, but for bunnies it's extremely convenient. They also eat their own poop, which is also disgusting. But for bunnies, you would never even notice because they subtly put their head between their legs and chew like nothing even happened. They have two different types of poops. The first time around, we call it a cecotrope, which is much softer and full of nutrients. And the second time around, it becomes what's more commonly recognized as a pellet, or if it's Easter, chocolate eggs. So the big problem here is that bunnies can be extremely picky eaters. I like to think of them as reincarnated aristocrats. They will pick through the hay to find the pieces that they like, whether it's soft, dry, chewy, or crunchy bits, flowers, or stems. The rest they just throw all over the place, and it gets out of the litter box and onto the floor, and well, what you end up with is poop or pee on your floor. Typically, people use a few different types of setups. A lot use the cat litter box with no lid. They throw the hay into the box. This makes it difficult to clean, and they can definitely get their paws covered in pee sometimes, but at least the hay is outside the box. I use a short-walled plastic litter box with a grate so all the pee and pellets fall to the bottom, away from my bunny's feet, and it's super easy to clean. Clean litter box, clean bunny. This is paired with a hay bin or a hay bag, but there are some obvious problems here too. If the hay bin is wooden, they often want to chew it, or they can get their head stuck in it, or not be able to get to the hay if it's not the right size. This would be very bad because if bunnies don't keep their digestive system constantly going, then they could get GI stasis and potentially die. They also seem to get really frustrated with hay bags because they push their head up and into the bag, trying to get the hay that they want, and they will just chew the bottom of the bag, and all the hay falls out, only to make a huge mess and cost you another 20 to 30 bucks for a new one, unless you can make your own. Not to mention that these hay bags have no ventilation, and hay being very dusty can cause respiratory infections. Yeah, I know, they're delicate little fluff balls. Just a friendly reminder that if you enjoy watching my videos, please do hit those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is very much appreciated, and it does help to make the channel grow. Alright, that's a bit of a long-winded way of explaining the problem, so let's get to the solution. So for the litter box, I swear by these great style litter boxes, it's best all in one piece and not using the ones with the movable tray, because it's just super easy to clean and it keeps your bunny a lot cleaner. Clean litter box, clean bunny. You could probably print something like this if you have a big enough printer, but managing keeping the pee in and avoiding stuff getting stuck in the layer lines would be a huge issue, so maybe a problem to solve in a future episode. Now for the hay bag solution. The solution is to create our own customized functional hay bin. Yeah, we're gonna 3D print this baby. First thing to know is we want something solid that isn't gonna move like a hay bag, but it has to have a big enough opening that the bunny will be able to get his head in there and not be too big that he's just gonna hop inside and poop in the hay bin. From my research, it looks about 4 inches should fit very comfortably for the majority of bunnies, unless you have one of these big fluffy monsters. We want a rounded bottom so hay doesn't get trapped in the creases and allow for the bunny's natural digging motion as they churn it up. We could use some sort of churning or spinning mechanism, but that might risk hurting the bunny, and bunnies love to chew on anything in their way, which is not what we want. To support the hay bin from moving around too much like a hay bag, I'm also going to suggest that we screw it in, so we are going to need some holes for that. And let's not forget a lid to keep all the hay from getting pushed out. There, we have a nice simple design, and the next step is to print the prototype so we don't waste a bunch of filament. The prototype looks good and solid. I can't see any changes to make at this point, so let's just print out the real thing and test it out. I really need a bigger printer for these types of things. I had to print it out on an angle and paint the supports to make sure it's still nice and smooth, but I didn't end up with a ton of supports, and I'm sure I could get this even nicer with a few more tests, but I am pretty happy with how it looks. Looks like it could fit his head with more than enough room, and he can dive halfway in there if he wants without getting stuck. One thing I added on the lid was I screwed in some holes for extra ventilation. Okay, I wanted to give this a proper test, so a day later we have little to no mess, which means it's working just as planned. He is eating from it regularly, so no GI stasis risk. He can access it easily and get the hay that he wants. And generally, I like to clean my bunny's litter box every day or every 2 days, so this works great. But there are still a couple of tweaks I would like to make. The lid is a little too snug, so we can add some little pockets to make the lid easier to get off and some ventilation through the top instead of me drilling into it. I also added some openings on the side just in case someone chooses to hang it, although unless you want this thing clinking and clanging around, I definitely suggest screwing it in is definitely the best option. Okay, now let's print version 2 and test that out. We can let Pico test this one out, which is great because he is only over a few months old, and if he can use it, so can any little bunny like a Netherland Dwarf or Holland Lop. Again, it seems to work great. He is even eating alfalfa hay, which is a little bit more loose and falls to the bottom as opposed to Timothy hay, another great comparison. We're not getting a ton of mess, and the hay bin allows the bunny to pick and choose their hay. You could just grab whatever hay is left at the end of the day and throw it out, maybe put it in another hay bin outside or something. At least that's what I do, and he doesn't seem to pee or poop in that one. If this is something of interest to you, I will be selling the most updated version of this product on my website, clubbinky.com. And stay tuned for any 3D prints, creations, and all things CG. I would love to hear your solutions for these messy bunnies in the comments below, or maybe any cool upgrades I could add to this thing. That's all I have for this episode. Until next time.